Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Alessandro and thank you so much for being here today for my review of The Keeper of Hidden Books by Madeline Martin. This video won't actually only be the review. In this intro portion here, I'm going to talk a little bit about some logistical things about the channel and the future going forward. There will be a second part where I talk a little bit about my history with the author and her other published works, and then the third part will be the review itself. There will be timestamps, so please feel free to jump around at your leisure, and let's just get into it. So like I said, I need to talk a little bit about logistical things because I did take a pretty significant break in 2024 from filming. I was overall just going through a really bad reading slump last year, and I didn't read that much, and the times that I was reading, I didn't really feel like being on camera for it or talking about the books I was reading either. That being said, I really want to change things this year. I'm really feeling inspired to read, to write, to film other videos. I've been watching so many amazing content creators that are just doing amazing things, and it's really inspiring me to get back on my filming grind. That being said, I know in the past I've done mostly reading vlogs with some reading wrap-up style videos, but going forward, just because of time constraints and other commitments I have in my life, going forward, I think I'm going to be more focused on these sit-down book chat style videos. I love reading vlogs, don't get me wrong. I love them. They're my favorite type of video to watch. I love reading vlogs, weekly vlogs with reading in them, with some lifestyle content incorporated, but the logistical part of it is just, for me, reading vlogs take way too long to edit and film. So going forward, I will be focusing more on these videos where I'm just sitting in front of my bookshelf and just chatting with you guys about books with my podcast mic. So if you're interested in those types of videos, I really hope you will consider sticking around for a little while. And yeah, so that is all for that. So like I said, I hope you enjoy those types of videos. I personally really enjoy watching like the single book reviews and series reviews. I know they're not necessarily like super trendy or super in right now, but those are just the types of book videos that I like to watch. So now let's get into the book and a little bit about the author we're talking about today, because if you guys are new to the historical fiction space, I would personally really recommend starting with this author's books. In this video in particular, we are going to be talking about The Keeper of Hidden Books by Madeline Martin, and Madeline Martin is someone who seems like a really amazing author. I was very lucky, and I actually had the chance to hear her speak and attend an author signing she gave at one of my local bookstores for her new release called The Book Lover's Library. But like I said, today we're talking about another one of her World War II books called The Keeper of Hidden Books. And this one is a little bit different because this book is actually set in Warsaw, Poland, whereas her other three books, I believe, are set in England. Madeline Martin is a really amazing author who's known for writing a ton of historical romances from a variety of different periods, but she really broke into the World War II historical fiction zone and like space with this book, The Last Bookshop in London, which was released in 2021 and is a New York Times bestseller. After this book, she went on to release other books like The Keeper of Hidden Books, which we're talking about today, The Librarian Spy, and then The Book Lover's Library, which I mentioned earlier. What I really like about Madeline Martin's writing is the characters really just leap off the page. The writing is, of course, excellent and very engaging, and she does so much research. Madeline Martin is an American writer, but she writes European-based historical fiction so incredibly well. I feel I can picture myself in the settings, wherever they are. And what I think is really cool about The Keeper of Hidden Books and a book like this is when I heard Madeline Martin speak a few months ago, she talked about actually how she got to go to Warsaw, Poland to do research for this book. She does like journalist level research, and she really wants to have a really comprehensive understanding of the world and place she's building before she really starts writing characters and the story. Overall, if you're newer to historical fiction or are just kind of interested in reading some World War II era historical fiction, because I know that genre has a lot of books in it and it can be a little bit overwhelming to know where to start. So I would highly recommend personally starting with The Last Bookshop in London and then maybe reading if you're interested in this writing style. I would consider checking out her other releases. So like I said, Last Bookshop in London, The Librarian Spy, The Keeper of Hidden Books, and The Book Lover's Library. So now we're going to start the portion of the actual review and synopsis and my kind of spoiler-free thoughts on the book. Disclaimer though, I did give this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, just like I love The Last Bookshop in London so very much. I'm going to put a picture of the book right here because it's a little bit tiring to hold. So what is The Keeper of Hidden Books about? So like I said, this book is a little bit different from Madeline Martin's other World War II books because it is set in Warsaw, Poland, as compared to something like The Last Bookshop in London, which was of course set in England. In The Keeper of Hidden Books, we take place starting out in August of 1939, right before the Nazi occupation of Warsaw. Our main character that we follow throughout the whole duration of the book is named Zofia, who is someone who is, I think, 18 or 19 at the start of the book. She's just finishing secondary school. She's looking forward to the future when her whole world kind of blows up around her. Hitler's forces invade Warsaw and basically take hold of the city for a number of years, and the book chronicles Zofia and a small group of her friends' lives throughout this Nazi occupation. This story really is a story of courage and bravery and resilience, and Zofia is very fiercely protective of her friends, and one friend in particular named Janina. Janina is Jewish, and of course, during the time of the Nazi occupation of Warsaw, many of the Jews were forced to live in the ghetto, and like the other Polish people in Warsaw, were faced with tons of discrimination and violence. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about in this book, kind of comparing it to The Last Bookshop in London, because I feel like The Last Bookshop in London is a book that many people have read if you've read historical fiction. If you haven't read it, I can kind of draw the comparison where The Last Bookshop in London is a little bit more cozy. It's a little bit of a shorter book, not as intense, whereas The Keeper of Hidden Books is not as cozy. It can be a very violent book. There are a lot of discussions around prejudice, book banning, violence towards people of different races from the Germans. So tonally, it is very different from The Last Bookshop in London, but I really appreciated that tonal shift because Madeline Martin handled it so eloquently. Zofia, our main character, is someone, if I could describe her in one word, is just very brave. She starts this underground book club of banned books, which is another thing we'll talk about a little bit later. When Janina is forced into the newly formed ghetto in Warsaw, Zofia is someone who's very determined to not only get her out, but to support Janina's other family members who are also living with her there, and to kind of keep up correspondence even though it's a very tightly locked area. Another theme which I really love that takes place not only through The Keeper of Hidden Books, but through Madeline Martin's other World War II books are the themes of loving reading and literature connecting others. The way Madeline Martin writes about these characters engaging with books and talking about books with their friends and family members, it just makes you remember like why you love reading and like how you fell in love with reading. That's the kind of feelings I get. It's very heartwarming, I would say. Zofia and her friends, including Janina, basically start an underground banned book club because when the Nazis come into Warsaw, they essentially strip Warsaw's libraries and bookstores of any books that are considered like offensive or going against the Third Reich. So Zofia is forced to kind of smuggle books throughout Warsaw to different families. She has to kind of hide them in her own different spaces and her home. And doing this act alone is kind of an act of defiance against Germany and against the Nazis. And that is a really big theme throughout the story because Zofia does work in one of the libraries in Warsaw even during the Nazi occupation, and overall chronicles her story living in Warsaw during the horrors of the Nazi occupation, her struggles fighting against the Nazis, her joining of various groups that are against the Nazis, and much, much more. I have to say, I love this book so much, and it feels very timely right now. I'm an American, I live in the United States, and right now things are not so great with book banning. It is very rampant across many states, and it's really discouraging to read about in the news. And reading The Keeper of Hidden Books kind of reminded me of the importance of reading, the importance of stories, the importance of reading from a diverse selection of books and stories. It just felt very timely. It kind of felt like history is repeating itself, which is definitely very scary. But it also gave me a lot of hope that there are people working against the book bans, that there are people fighting against them actively, that we're still spreading these stories from diverse people, from different backgrounds, and that those stories are important and need to be read from. I really love Zofia as a main character. She's someone who is so brave, she's so strong, she's so resilient, she's fiercely protective of her friends and her family, and she's even patriotic in a way that I haven't really read a lot of other female main characters like. You can feel in the book and throughout different scenes that we encounter that she really is proud to be Polish. She wants to protect her country. She wants her country to be independent and free. And I really felt her inspiration just leap off the page. I also like, because for those of you romance lovers out there, and of course Madeline Martin is a romance author as well, she incorporates a love interest in the book and incorporates these little dashes of romances throughout the story as well. It's done so well. It doesn't hit you over the head with it. It's a little bit of a slow burn, I guess you could say. And I overall really, really love the way that it was done. I definitely would read with some caution though, because there are some very violent scenes in here. There are some scenes that talk about discrimination of Jewish and Polish people, violence against Jewish and Polish people. It is, like I said, totally different from The Last Bookshop in London, but again, handled really, really well, and it makes you really feel for the characters on the page. But that all being said, please just read with caution if that is something you are sensitive to. Again, I would say the overall highlights of the story are Zofia as a really brave main character, her really nice and close-knit group of friends, the love interest, the theme of literature connecting others, and the other themes of like saving books, keeping books around, making sure stories are heard, and making sure books are accessible for people that might not normally have them. But there you guys have it. That is my review and my spoiler-free thoughts on The Keeper of Hidden Books. I really hope you consider picking up this book as well as Madeline Martin's other books. I just really think they're amazing, and if you're a seasoned World War II historical fiction reader, or if you're a newer historical fiction reader, I think you'll find something to read and something to enjoy from these books no matter what. Like I said, going forward, I think I am going to be focusing more on these sit-down single book style reviews, general reading wrap-ups, and sit-down style videos like this. So if that's something you're interested in, I really hope you consider subscribing and sticking around. I don't have an upload schedule by any means right now with work and school, but I really hope to get more videos out to you guys very soon. If you want to check me out on Instagram and kind of see more of my daily reading updates, I'll leave that linked in the description down below. But without anything else, I just want to say thank you again for checking out the video. My name is Alessandro, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!